What's up, everybody? Beautiful summer Friday night. Um, Before I move any further with the video, I want to remind you, check out Be Good 4000's channel. He was probably one of the first channels I found, and back in the day, he had these little skits, these little they probably weren't even make-believe skits. They were probably real situations, but skits with a narcissistic girlfriend. And I remember finding those and being like, oh my God, this is exactly what I dealt with. One of the first guys I ever found. He's been doing it for 7, 8, 9 years now. It's been a while. But, man, I remember finding those and be like, holy shit, I'm not the only one dealing with this. But anyway, check his channel out. We'll move on. I was thinking today just about, boundaries. I made a video, I think it was last night, about boundaries, and when boundaries go well, when you set a boundary and people actually reciprocate and understand it and everything goes well, but something went corrupt with it. I couldn't upload it. I got to remake it. But, I was just thinking about boundaries and then the political atmosphere about, Trump wanting to build a wall and immigration and all that stuff that's going on these days. So I want to boil it down to, as per usual, I always like to make it as simple as possible. Let's take, a single cell organism, the simplest life form possible. Now, it has, a membrane, an external membrane that is in charge of taking in the good and expelling the bad. So if this single cell organism just continues to consume everything it sees, what happens? It overconsumes, it stretches out, the cell wall ruptures, it dies. However, the same thing happens if it doesn't consume any good nutrients and it's only expelling, it shrivels up and dies. Now that's a single cell organism, right? Now you can just bring that up to multicellular. Same thing happens. Bring that up to multi-million, multi-billion cellular. Let's say a dog or something. If a dog does nothing but eat and never shits, it's going to explode. It's going to die. If it never eats and only shits, eventually it's going to shrivel away and die as well. And you have to think of that single cell organism, that wall around it is the boundary. That wall is you setting boundaries, saying, I'm going to take the good and I'm leaving the bad. And it's absolutely essential to life in general. For a single cell organism, multi-cell organism, everything that's living has to expel the bad and take the good in. Now that's physical, nutritional, but it applies the same to emotional. If you're taking in emotional shit all day, you're somebody's emotional dildo, emotional tampon, and you're not getting anything good, eventually, emotionally, you're going to die. Now, to the same token, if you're not taking in any of the good and all you're doing is consuming bad, you're going to die. You get where I'm going with that. You have to be mindful of a very healthy boundary and what you're consuming and what you're doing. You can't just take, and you can't take nothing. You have to make it a very even, healthy level as best you can. So that's the emotional content, and that's where, I've talked about this before, I think. That's with, boundaries and stuff. You have to set boundaries with people. Absolutely have to. If you don't, you're setting yourself up for failure. You're setting yourself up for hurt and pain. It's not going to be a pleasant experience, and it's going to hurt you at the end of the day. Now, with the political stuff, I'll keep it really short. But when people say, oh, the new immigration laws and the building the wall and stuff, that's so wrong. But a nation is much like an organism. You can't just endlessly take in everything, because eventually you will explode and die. However, you have to take in some, and you can't avoid everything, because then you implode and die. So there's a fine line. And when I think about that, there's nothing wrong with making laws more stringent about who we allow in, so on and so forth. You can't just allow in any old person. They need to be vetted. You need to know that they're good. You can allow in a virus and kill the entire nation, i.e. the organism. The same as, when you were in a narcissistic, abusive relationship, you allowed in a virus, and what did it do to you? It fucked you up pretty good, right? So that's the basis of all that. But then what I want to reach to now is that I look at women and social pressure, and how they're, by every statistic known, and marketing people and sales people know this, women are the consumers. That's why you see all the commercials geared towards women. That's why you see the movies, the TV shows, mostly geared towards women. They are the primary consumers. But consuming financially is the same deal. And that's not even financially, that's emotionally too, when you go on, or not emotionally, but psychologically, when you go on social media. So Be Good 4000's recent video was talking about how every girl on social media and dating sites and stuff like that, they're always bragging about riding camels and petting dolphins. I died laughing, because I'm on dating websites, and I swear to God, almost every single profile, this girl is in like Egypt riding a camel, or in Cancun petting dolphins, and I can't afford that. I'm sorry. If that's the type of lifestyle you're looking for, it's not going to happen with me. I can't drain myself that much to suit your needs. That's what his video is about. Go check it out. But it's the same concept with the single cell organism, and external validation. So I feel like these women are looking for external validation, and they're just grabbing everything, just grabbing in such a, I'll call it like a hectic want to be approved of, a want to be accepted by men, society, their friends, this ego-driven want to look better. And it's not healthy. Because again, if they're just grabbing everything without thinking about it, being mindful of it, and what they can and cannot grab, and what they should and should not grab, again, they're going to explode. Just like the single-cell organism. If Ashley buys a new, I don't know, what's a famous brand now, Gucci purse for $600, and you see it on social media, that can make a woman want it too. But hey, you only got $300 rent's due next week, and you're already short. Buying that purse to match Ashley is going to kill you. It's going to fuck you. You have to be mindful of what you can and cannot do. The same with the petting camels or not petting camels, riding camels and petting dolphins. If you're working a retail job, or you've just gotten out of college and you're not making much money yet, I understand that when you see everybody else, having fancy dinners and lunches and traveling all over the world, that makes you want to do it too. But you have to look at, is this something I can take in? Is this something I need to let go? If you're making $8 an hour as a barista, you're not going to be able to go ride a fucking camel in Egypt, right? It's just not going to happen. I'm sorry. It's just the way of the world. But these women want to make it happen irregardless. You know, the social pressure is just too much for them. They want to be equal to everybody else. You know, I believe that they shouldn't be doing that, and it's toxic and it's bad for their health. But they want to do it anyway. They want to be like everybody else. They want to get the purse. They want to take the trips. You know, they want to go to Ibiza just like everybody else does. But they're not taking into account that they can't handle it. Their cellular structure of finances and emotions and physicality and everything cannot handle that intake right now. You have to grow a little bit first. You have to achieve a little bit more. That's basically the end of that argument. And I don't see any way that anybody can refute that. But here's the trick. Let's say I'm let's make up a random women name. I'm Annie. I'm 23. I just graduated college. I make $8 an hour. All my friends are going to Ibiza and Egypt and Cancun and eating, you know, $80 brunches every weekend. I want to do that too. I want that fucking Gucci purse too. But I can't because I don't have the money. I don't have the means. But there's another way. Find a rich guy that's willing to pay for it. You see how that's correlating? So because they're in a position that they can't consume and can't healthily consume stuff, then you become a parasite. And you leech on to somebody else and use their means, their money, and their availability to do what you want. Now, you tell me whether or not that's actually love. Do you think that Annie really loves this guy that she's using for all these lavish trips and doing all these things just to keep up with the Joneses? Does she love him, or does she love what she's getting from him? Now, that's pretty simple. We're all in a narcissistic relationship. We all understand how used and abused we were. But the sad part, and that just the utter fucking reality of all this is everyday commonplace occurrence in America, where people are using other people for their own benefit because they can't achieve it yet. Now let's go long run. What happens, well, to Annie, when the relationships devolve and she can't use his assets anymore? Well, the state and the government's gonna give her half his shit anyway. She didn't earn it. She had nothing to do with it. He was out working while she was riding camels and petting dolphins. Nah, she's gonna get half of it. And alimony. And hell, if they had kids, she's going to get that money too. And what do you think Annie's going to do with that money, even if she has kids? Think she's going to actually spend it on the kids? Or is she going to try to keeping up with the Joneses? Nah, more than likely that money's going to go to that Gucci purse and not the kid. So you see where this whole system has become toxic. Completely and utterly toxic. And narcissistic as fuck. The culture is narcissistic. We're breeding children to be narcissistic from day one. A lot of people fall for it. And then they don't have any teaching to show them another way. To show them a way out of healthy living. So they stay in that mindset. And then they end up becoming divorcees and single mothers that abuse children because they can't handle it. It's a giant snowball. You know, it all is, you can see where I'm getting at. It's all correlated one by one. You know, it's just it's terribly sad to me. I mean, if you count yourself as one of the people that is smart enough to get out of this and just kind of do what makes you happy, and money does not make you happy, count yourself lucky. Because, just the huge, vast majority of America right now is sick. Suicide rates are through the roof. Depression, drugs are through the roof. Medication is through the roof. I don't want to I hate the term disease. I'm not even going to say disease. But, cardiovascular, stress-related illness through the roof. Mental illness through the roof. Crime through the roof. Does this not all make sense to you? Doesn't this correlate to you? Don't you see the correlation? I damn sure do.